It is the first week of September 2024, and it's time to look at the August home sales data for the Albuquerque area. And I've got a couple different things. I'm going to go off a little tangent here. One thing is, why are home sellers not moving? Why are they not selling as often? I think a lot of us know that, but I've got some really great data to back that up and show you exactly what is going on there. But first, we got to talk about mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are the lowest we've seen in a while. This is actually a 5-year chart we're looking at. But as of this recording, September 5th, we're at 6.35 for highly qualified, good down payment borrowers on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I get this from Mortgage News Daily. They do an update every single day. It's a really great resource for checking out what is going on with mortgage rates. But if we look at the 1-year chart, you can see right now, we are at the lowest we've seen in over a year. So really good news there. And we'll see what happens with the Fed here next week and if that makes any difference. It may or may not, depending on how the bond market reacts to it. All right. We're not going to get into macroeconomics here today, but let's look at Albuquerque and what is going on with the market and what is going on. And I'll give you the high level. Sales are slower. People just aren't buying and selling as often. And the prices are kind of steady, flat, you could even say right now. But let's look at the data. So first off, I want to show you the month's supply of inventory. And what this tells us, we're looking at this and it says 2.3. What that means is we have 2.3 months of supply of active homes on sale or for sale. If no other homes came on the market, we'd have no more homes to sell in 2.3 months. The general rule on month supply is 4 or 5 months supply is a seller's market. Anything over 6 months supply is a buyer's market. So, based on this, we're in seller's market, but that's not true across the board. It depends on the price range and the location. Homes that are in that higher end for Albuquerque, let's say 600,000 and above, it's closer to 4.5 months supply. In that lower end, let's say 300,000 and under, it's closer to 1 month supply. So it really depends on what market we're in. Definitely the lower price, more affordable homes are much more competitive than the high end. But again, that's not across the board. That's that's average, right? We're talking averages because there are some high end homes that come on the market at $1.5 million and they're selling immediately. So it depends on the product, the location, and if that buyer just happens to be out there when it's time. All right. Prices, I talked about this briefly, but we're looking at average price. We're looking at the 5-year chart here, monthly, and average price for Albuquerque for August is $422,000. That's a 0.5%, 0.5% higher than August of last year. But August of last year was a high point for the seasonal trend as well. So we're gauging off of that. But home prices have moderated. They've kind of flattened out. We may be past our peak for the year. And again, that's averages and that's across all prices and all properties. Median, very similar, just basically flat from last year, 360,000. And then my favorite price per square foot is at 209, which is a 0.5% above last year as well. And last year, August, again, it was another high point. So we'll see how this plays out. Based on the pending data, I don't have the chart up here, but I've got a tracker that shows us what are the prices of the home that are in pending status right now compared to the homes that were in pending status at the same time a year ago. And right now, that spread is somewhere around 3-4%. So I do expect home prices, at least year over year, to continue to see some appreciation, just at much more moderate paces than we've seen in the past. Sales are slower. We're down. We're 7% less sales this year, just 813 sales compared for August, which is relatively slow. When you think about Albuquerque, it's very consistent. We were selling 1,000, 1,200 homes per month being sold in our market. And we're at this 800, which is unusual for this time of year. This is usually a really busy time. Pending, it's the same story. The number of pendings is down from July and down from last year, about 5% less, and only 805 homes. I say only, that's 805 homes. That's 805 homes out of 320,000 homes in our metro area total. But home sales are still happening is my point. There's still people buying, there's still people selling, and there's still a market happening. It's just not as busy as we've seen definitely during the COVID years when it was just insanity, to be honest with you. Days on market, this is always an interesting trend. And what we see is the median days on market is 13 days. That means that half of the homes that closed for August, half of them were under contract within 13 days or 2 weeks. And that brings us back to a more normal pattern. If we go back to August of 2019, where it was 16 days on or the median, the pace of sales is more normal than, again, those 2020, 2021, 2022. We're just back to a more normal pace. And okay, the chart I want to show you, let me skip to that. FHFA, which is the Federal Housing Finance Authority that oversees Fannie and Freddie and does all types of research on the housing market and housing data and everything going on. And what they've been studying, they've actually got a white paper on this called the Working Paper on the Lock-in Effect of Rising Mortgage Rates. And so earlier I said people aren't selling as often. They're just not putting their homes on the market as often. And there's a reason for that. And this is a big part of it, is this lock-in effect. And what this is talking about is they found that as of Q2 2024, the average delta, indicating that the average loan was a fixed rate, was 2.54% points lower than the current market rate of similar mortgages. So if you've got that 3-ish, so you got a 3 handle on your mortgage, or maybe even a 4%, it's really hard to give that up and that nice, fixed rate payment that you have right now to move into a 6.5% mortgage that is the current rate. As this was for Q2, this data. So we have gotten some better mortgage rates since then, quite a bit actually, 0.75% better. But it still is illustrative of what's going on with this. So if we look at this crazy chart here, what they're showing us is this pink and this orange. The pink is people that have a spread of 3% or more between the current rate and their existing rate. And the orange is 2% or more between the current mortgage rates and their existing rate that they have on their home. And so it's very hard for people to give that up. And they're saying about 75% of people with a mortgage have that delta of 2% or greater. So it is a big difference, and it definitely makes a difference on affordability for your complete housing situation. A couple stats on that, I've got them over here, is that they estimate, FHFA estimates that 1.72 million fewer homes sold between Q2 of 22 and Q2 of 24. So those 2 years, 1.7 million fewer homes nationwide sold. So that's significant. When you think about nationwide, it's generally 4 to 6, 4 in the low end, let's say 6 million homes generally sell. So that's a big difference. And again, that's why we haven't seen quite as much movement. I think the lower mortgage rates, if we do get them here, we're all crossing our fingers that they're coming, but there's so much that goes into that, and I'm not going to get into that mess right now. But people are expecting mortgage rates to moderate, but not significantly, no big moves. So be watching for that. I follow all the housing economists on this. Nobody's projecting anything huge in mortgage rates. The best I saw was some predictions somewhere around, high 5s by the end of 2025. That's a long ways off, and a lot can happen. And predicting mortgage rates is a pretty difficult thing to do. So we'll see how that shakes out. And really, it comes down to if somebody needs to buy, somebody needs to sell. If the financing works for them and it's in their budget, then you got to do what you got to do. Renting is tough right now as well. That's again, a whole nother topic, but we're not going to get into that today. But thanks for watching my very long video on the housing market, because there's so much to talk about, and there always is and always will be. And if you've got any questions about real estate and the housing market, you can reach out to us through the Venturi Group at Real Broker here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, 505-448-8888. Take care.